Okay, so I've just watched a video, The Name of the Lord, which is something that I posted in 2016, so quite a long time ago. Um, I've had to add to the title that, there's obviously things that are wrong with it because I hadn't quite got the information back then. And it's really annoying to have to say this a second time because it didn't, I don't know what happened to the recording, it just stopped, didn't record properly, so I'm saying it again, although I think I can probably say things in a lot better. So to explain that video, starts off just talking about all the name connections, and then starts off then brings in some of the singers. Now, I think if you knew what I knew now, you would see it in a different way because I know that all the singers have different characters and represent different things. Thing is, I didn't know that back then. I wasn't aware of that. I knew that a lot of the songs that especially ones about pain or suffering or whatever, I felt like they were an accurate description of what I was going through. And there were some weird things in songs that just wouldn't happen to a normal person, but they were happening to me. And not only were they happening to me, but I found that I would do things, feel a certain way, listen to a certain song, and it seems to basically talk about something that I did yesterday. Now, this was happening all the time. Now, I know songs are open and you can relate to them a lot of times. A lot of these songs, I can listen back then and I can relate to them, to things that I did yesterday. And then I can listen to them in a couple of years' time and also relate them to something that I did just in the last week or something. So, they are very deep and they are open to in different interpretations. And I know that I think quite a lot of the songs, I think think it means one thing, and then later down the line, you think actually it could also mean something different. And they're very complex, and they can be analysed in loads of different ways. But yeah, I back in the first 3.5 years, I didn't know that they had different characters. I don't even know when I found out about the different characters, to be honest. It was when I was doing the Third Testament, but I didn't do the Third Testament until I found out about the different characters. And I think that was no clue. I can't say when it was, but halfway in between, I started noticing that, if you put different characters to them, then suddenly it makes sense. And okay, I've gone through a hell of a lot of suffering over the last 9 years, and I didn't know it was going to be 9 years. And that was the thing that made me most suffer because I believe that I have done loads of timelines, and each timeline is different. And the length is different. Sometimes it's 1 year, I think. Sometimes it's two. Sometimes it's three, 3.5, maybe 7. At the beginning, I didn't know, but I was looking at how bad the world was, and I knew that whatever it was going to be way worse than I wanted. I didn't want to believe that though. I kept thinking that it wasn't that bad, and that's why I kept thinking that the Katy Perry songs aren't that bad, because I believed that she was doing all these songs because she knew that something was going to be ended soon, and you're going to hear me roar. I thought that she was talking about me, but it turns out she wasn't. She was actually talking about the deceiver, something that lies to people, tricks people, and I've been lied to and tricked to constantly, and so much so that I don't really believe the media. I don't, maybe COVID isn't even real. Maybe all the the fires that have happened all over the world, maybe there have been fires, but the media is just exaggerating it so that I would read it and think, oh gosh, climate change is really bad. Okay, let's have an excuse to, to create something big. I don't know. All I know is that my higher self is telling me that I'm trying to get my information from my higher self and not from the media, um, because I don't trust the media. And I'm listening to songs because I know my higher self is inspiring things, and so I'm not talking to the songs. I'm trying to talk to my higher self through the songs, and pick up whatever it is, messages that I hear from these things. And sometimes I notice things, and then I can watch the same video, a year or two later, and notice different things, and then feel a different way about the song and stuff. So it's really complex. Um, and yeah, I I if you when I'm exposed as Christ, I don't think the world should know about the characters. The world needs to know only about 4 characters, um, which is Rihanna. I would have thought at one stage that people shouldn't think that she represents me because they're going to think that I'm a really bad person. But at the same time, I think people are going to think that I'm a really bad person either way, because a lot of people, worship Jesus, want Jesus, and therefore anyone else that comes claiming to be Jesus and or Christ, anyone else that claims to come being Christ and isn't Jesus or isn't a man, they're evil, and therefore, they might want to pick up on the Rihanna songs and think, yes, that's definitely me, and if that's what they want to do, then great. I mean, it is me, but it's me because of huge amounts of things that I've gone through, and I can tell people, that people have been doing things about me behind my back for such a long time, but I don't think a lot of people are going to believe me. I feel like a lot of people are just going to be like, oh no, that's not true. You've just been working with them. This is all just a lie. There's going to be so many people being like that, and if that's what they want to believe, fine. But it's going to get to them eventually. Um, but yeah, looking at that video and knowing that they all represent different characters, it actually seems quite fun. You know, oh, this is this person, and if you see the different characters and see all the different things that they say, you would get it, and you would get what they actually mean. Um, but yeah, you would also think that it wouldn't really hurt me that much because they represent different sides of me. But the thing is, I didn't know that back then. I didn't know that they represented different sides. I don't believe they knew that they represented different sides. I think they were all just trying to prove me wrong. I said that I was Christ and I live inside everyone, and these songs are all inspired by me, and I feel like they heard that and believed that, but they didn't believe it, and they were trying to prove me wrong, and that's where the problem came in, because you know all the songs that they've done, it shouldn't have been necessary. Just being a nice person or whatever, that should have been necessary. And just people here on this planet are a lot worse than I think. And I think when I first believed that I was Christ, I didn't know how bad humans were. I didn't know how bad they would reject Christ. They love God from at the time. There's loads of people that worship, go to church every day, and follow Christ. If Christ came, I would want to know. If Christ came and someone said, "Hey, do you want to?" I believe I'm Christ. Here's the evidence. I'd be like, "Wow, that's amazing. I don't know. Can I help you or something?" That's what I would want to do. But people here don't do that because they're not like me. And I think if you're not like someone, you don't necessarily see it. You just see yourself. A lot of people, if you're talking to someone positive and happy, you can feel it, and I can feel it, but I don't know if others can feel it. But I reflect how people react to me, and I don't really get that close to people because I know there are a lot of not very nice people, so I kind of stay away from them. And therefore I didn't back then have a realistic take on what people were actually like and what people actually needed, and so these songs were very hurtful. But yes, I I got some other things wrong in the video about timing. I really thought that it was going to be 3.5 years or less. Didn't think it was going to be 9 years. It sounds really, really painful to know that I went through that much, only to know that it's going to be much longer. The thing is, after 3.5 years, I knew that there was no other date. The Bible talked about 1 year. The Bible talked about, I don't know, so many days, and a year and a half, and 70 weeks, and there's all these possible dates floating around. But after 3.5 years, I was like, well, there is no 4-year tribulation, 5-year tribulation, 6-year tribulation. There's only a 3.5-year option or a 7-year. And so that was when I decided just to try and pretend that the first 3.5 years didn't happen. I moved here, and that was really, things got better then, because I was no longer struggling to pay rent. I was no longer depressed over how little money I had, knowing that everyone else was making billions of pounds off me. And then, yeah, I was much happier here. I didn't have rent, and I could just try and pretend that none of that happened. Um, haven't had a good life, and I think it's really, really depressing doing massage and you're trying to tell people and they just don't care, or maybe they want to look at the video but they won't like comment on you, or they won't say, they won't try and help you, and how can they? If I'm Christ, and the only way to create this timeline is to go through a huge amount of suffering, if I tell them that and they walk away, they're thinking, well, they want to help me, but at the same time, if that's if me going through whatever I've gone through is the only way to create them, then of course they would just leave and not come back, and therefore no one can help me. And it's, I want to blame someone, but I feel like the only person I can blame really is the system of how it works, the matrix. And I don't know. I don't know. It'll take me a long, long time to get over this. I'm not talking about my lifetime. I'm talking a long, long time. Um, but maybe I'll one day. I hope the world will be better when I come back next. I'm sure it will be. I know it will be when I can next come. Um, but yeah, at the end of the day, I need entertainment. People are trapped on this world, and part of the reason why they're here is for my entertainment. And you know, why does God create humans? Well, she wants to be entertained. That is the only reason. And for me to be entertained, I sometimes have to entertain you. Problem is, you're a bit sick, so some people like to be entertained by someone else's suffering. But anyway, um, whatever. I love to go on to Big Brother and just be like, I'm God, and the reason why I made you is so that I can laugh at you. I'd love to be that, because I'd love to say something like that, because a lot of people are very pissed off if I say that, and I love the idea of pissing them off, because they have pissed me off so much too. So, but yes, it'd be different though if I was on Big Brother. I don't know if it should be live or not. I think it should be live because I think I can handle it, but at the same time, um, I might accidentally slip up and reveal that some of the singers represent characters rather than things. But yeah, I won't try to. I'll try to hide that. I think that information needs to be hidden till the very end. Um, just say that they all represent me in different ways. They all represent Anna in different ways. Um, some good and some bad. But to let people believe or follow or listen or do whatever they want, and see what they prefer to listen to. Um, but yeah, oh, I still think the Piece of Trumpets is it, and I'm not going by the Hebrew calendar. That was another mistake I made on the video. I talked about it being in August, because that was when August, I think that year, the Piece of Trumpets might have been on August that year. But no, I don't want it to be in. I want it to be on the Jordanian calendar, and but yeah, I think if you watch that knowing that they're all different characters, you won't think that it hurt me. But if you watch that knowing that I had no idea that there was different characters, and that I was convinced that it would be over soon, and it wasn't. It's very sad.